just finished watching the 9th episode of the Orville, Cupid's Dagger. This is actually the first episode I got to watch live as it broadcast, not having to watch it several hours later. So that was kind of fun. Commercial breaks and all. The first one I watched in the true television format. But this episode was a little bit, had some problems in it. It's almost as if the writers didn't stop and think about what they were writing. And they had these sort of ideas that kind of worked in with the story arcs and the characters and what they'd been building. But they never really stopped to think through the actual implications of this central element kind of driving the plot forward. And so very weird mixed bag of an episode. I would say the sharpness of the writing was good. The actual story direction they took with things, not so good. So with all that said, before I dive into my full thoughts on it, be sure to put your comments down below in the comment section. Your thoughts, do you agree with my big, gigantic problem with this central plot of this one? Or did you like it? Where did you kind of fall and all that fun stuff? Tell me down below your take on it. With that said, let's kind of dive into our main plots of this episode. So at the core of it, there's these two civilizations that are at war. The Orville shows up to negotiate between the two of them, and there's some archaeological, historic things that could be key to it. So they bring in an archaeologist to try and resolve things. Just so you know, this will be spoiler filled. Our archaeologist shows up, and it is the person that our first officer had an affair with, thus breaking up the marriage between Ed Mercer and the first officer of the ship. So this is the central kind of tension and conflict of the episode. Likewise, our blob keeps hitting on the nurse and she keeps rejecting him. We get about halfway through the episode and it turns into essentially the naked now, the naked time from previous Star Trek in the past, where people are acting a loss of inhibitions, falling in love with people, very out of character, and not paying so much attention to this big gigantic conflict between the two cultures. This leads to further tension as there's rivalries between people, as the love and infatuation with people increases, leading to our archaeologist to reveal, hey, I'm in heat. I'm secreting hormones that make people want to bang each other. Sorry. And this is all after the first officer has had sex with him once again. Ed is now wanting to have sex with him, getting full Seth MacFarlane in this one, in the direction that he takes some of these ideas. And in the final big reveal of it, our archaeologist goes, I've got an idea, puts his pheromones, whatever, all over the two leaders of our two cultures. They fall in love with each other, want to get married. And somehow this is going to be the resolution to the conflict. And there's some stuff in archaeology discovered. There are remnants of both of them on it, so they both have a claim to it. So for some reason, this conflict will be resolved in the end, somehow related to our archaeologist guy. Okay, there's several things to this that are kind of common Star Trek-y tropes, as is common theme in these episodes, Star Trek-y type plots. So naked now, people inhibitions, falling in love with each other, screwing each other when they wouldn't otherwise do that. That's pretty common Star Trek-y type trope, as I mentioned, naked now, naked time from Next Generation and the original series. And you definitely get some of that vibe in here. And there have been other ones that have kind of had that we're in love type thing going on. That's fairly common. Also, very common sort of plot line is the ship is the negotiator between two cultures. Fairly common type thing kind of going on. And bring in the specialist, the expert from the outside to come in, and there's some sort of conflict, some sort of back history with someone where they've got a relationship from the past, or they start falling in love with Riker or Deanna Troi, one of those. So, and that's what you see here. So very, very common. Big, gigantic miss in the writer's room. I don't know how they didn't catch on to this. So the situation is that our archaeologist, played by Rob Lowe, who, of course, is always nice to see on screen, even when covered in blue paint, secretes this hormone thing that makes people fall in love instantly, sexually aroused, want to bang people. He knows this. He shows up fully aware of his current state of being, walks through a hallway, trips on someone, passes it along to someone else, and so then people become infatuated with our blob person. But most importantly, number one shows up, touches her, he is now aware that she is outside of her ability to consent, make actual and informed decision. She is under the influence of, in this case, a drug that will make her do something that is not of her own volition. He is aware of this. He knows exactly what's going on and still sleeps with her. Still sees other people kind of going on and goes, kind of goes along with it. Which has big, gigantic, enormous implications for what is generally considered acceptable sexual behavior between people. This is a form of rape because it's non-consensual sex. It's a person that is under a drug. This is why you can't roofie people. Like, you can't do that. It's the same crime as if you put a knife to someone's throat. And the episode didn't seem to realize that. I was expecting, like, is the end of this episode going to be like this weird, like, dark turn or where the guy gets arrested for rape or something? No, it doesn't go in that direction. They just kind of go, you gotta go, you're a nice guy, but thanks for helping us. Not letting it sink in that this is a guy that knowingly was, and they wrote in this line about, in my culture, it's actually kind of rude to refuse sex. Yeah, but you can't tie that in with, and I'm secreting a hormone that makes people just want to have sex with me. Like, you put these two things together and you're like a sexual predator that's just on the loose. And every time you touch someone, if you don't immediately inform everyone of what's going on, you belong in jail. Like, you should be locked up because you're doing inappropriate, like this. This is basic level stuff, especially right now in light of surrounding sorts of events going on in Hollywood. Even one of them had the roots back to Seth MacFarlane, who went up at the Oscars 3-4 years ago and called out, made a joke about Harvey Weinstein and his sexual deviancy during the Oscars. And then they play this episode and it's like, no, it didn't click in their heads. You know, this isn't okay. It's not like cute. It's not like funny. It's the same as a roofie. It's the same as someone so drunk they can't say no, or they're doing something they wouldn't otherwise say yes to. Like, it's all of those sorts of things. It's love potion-y stuff. It's a sort of plot line that 30 years ago we didn't stop to think about the sexual ethics of consent in regards to if someone's under a love potion. We didn't think about this when that movie, what was that one called? What Women Want came out 15, 20 years ago with Mel Gibson, and can read people's minds and so can lie to them and trick them and stuff. We didn't think about things like that back then. We've kind of progressed a little bit to the point in time where you go, yeah, that's not okay. That's not, you can't use your magic hormones. You can't roofie people. You can't get them so drunk that you can take advantage of them. All of these things are frowned upon for good reason. And it's like the writers forgot on this episode, which is frustrating because in a lot of ways, the episode had like, it's like the writing's coming together. Like, they're getting the vibe of the chemistry, the crew a little bit more, the nature of the humor that works. Jokes don't feel like they're falling as flat as they were in the first few episodes. The relationships seem to flow a little bit more naturally. And it's not like they did a big, gigantic shift. It's not like there's a big change. It just feels like they're coming together and figuring out a little bit better how do we write each character with each other, the other characters, to make it kind of flow nicely. And then the episode is just like such like a blind spot of what? How did you guys not see this? So anyway, that's my take on the episode. I don't even know what to make of it. Maybe you guys can tell me what I'm missing in this. Am I wrong? Is this like normal, appropriate behavior, or does this seem as rapey as it seemed to me? So yeah, tell me down below in the comment section, did the writers just miss something gigantic in the gigantic issue in the nature of this plot line and the actual implications of it, or did I miss something in my watching of it because my kids kept screaming all around me, running around through the house as the insanity ensues, as it often does during a time when people are normally going to bed. So I might have been distracted at certain points and I missed something. I don't think I did. I think I was paying pretty good attention, and this episode the writers weren't paying so much attention to their ideas. So anyway, if you're new to my channel, please consider clicking that subscribe button. I do movie reviews, TV reviews, but the key thing is I don't want to just talk about movies and TV. I want to talk about movies and TV and the wacky direction and the missights of the writers with you down in the comment section. So join me down there. Let's have a lively discussion, especially this one that has some stuff that needs to be discussed about the direction that they took this plot. And as always, thank you for watching.